Hey guys, it is Friday, October the 21st, and it's almost like Halloween is every day in the marketplace. I'm surely getting a shock from every single day in the marketplace. Let's take a look. This is such a busy earnings season, and so it's really hard sometimes to know what to focus on. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through the railways and what I saw in their volume numbers, and then I'm just going to briefly touch on Schlumberger. And the reason I'm going to do that is because Baker Hughes, which I rarely talk about because it's got so much residual nonsensicalness from being spun out of GE, and it always gets the oil and gas people started in the wrong direction for earnings season. So I essentially just ignore it half the time, and just listen for any glimmer of hope that they finally got that thing under control. But Schlumberger really legitimately gives great intel, is a good company, is probably a canary in the coal mine for the rest of oil and gas as a premier kind of services company. So we're going to go through those things really briefly and then just call it a week. But we do have so much going on. Now, just to give you the macro stuff that we start with, past performance, it's not indicative of future returns. Sharing the screen here, we do have, I was just taking a quick look at Dow Chemical, which is up even though this was terrible as a quarter. But you do see the indices recovering aggressively this rally. I'm pretty sure that the reason for the rally is just that we have so many big cap companies reporting next week that could go literally either way. Like David and I were talking before the show, I got no idea. And honestly, anyone that pretends like they have a good idea, God love them, because quite frankly, you've got currency doing all kinds of nonsense and unclear statements from companies as to the degree to which they hedge that out. And if you failed to do so correctly, as we know, it could have cost you $1 billion, as we heard from Netflix, or more, quite frankly, because if you actually do the math on IBM, it cost them more. You've got interest rates. So if anyone's got a debt component, it's weird. Then you've got global GDP slowdown. You've got all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you have this pocket of people being very aggressive to spend so they can maintain market share in a weak environment. It's literally anyone's guess for most of these companies. But as we see, earnings season starts in aggressively by Tuesday. So Monday might be the last day that you really get any kind of weird posturing. And I'm going to call it weird posturing because today with a 2% rally, Monday could go either way as well. I'd just rather be in cash if I can help it. Take advantage of the rallies to get out of positions that you don't feel comfortable with and hold cash so that you can then take advantage of weird market weakness. Because I will say this, companies that have been bid up have just as easily come down. And that's despite good earnings. And companies that have had complete crap earnings have actually been bid up. And that's despite the fact that they look like better shorts than they've ever looked like. So you'll want the cash to be able to do what you'll need to do. This is what I've got so far for next week, but I know for a fact I only have at best half of the companies reporting. Now, let me tell you what the rails told us. Now, as you know, this nation, because of its size, railway is the most efficient way to move something from point A to point B. And it would be the ideal way to move things, except that, quite frankly, our infrastructure sucks in the United States. And I would be stoked. I would be like giggling and meaning it in a giggly way if it wasn't so detrimental and horrendous. And not only does our infrastructure suck because of the nature of all the different things that we've done, we don't have staff. And so most of the call for both the rail companies was about the railway strike, which is just the worst predicament for both sides, to be honest. The railway workers don't deserve crappy treatment, and the railroad workers, best they can, are trying to do what they can, but they don't have enough workers. So it's just a miserable situation for everyone. Meanwhile, all of us as Americans continue to languish because of the lack of spending in this area. And what the railway companies try to do is they try to give promotions and give people a path, a career path of advancement. But that does mean that your average railway worker in each and every single position continues to retire. So you have less years, less wisdom. This is a business where wisdom matters. And that's the state of affairs in rails. As a result, they're just pushing through pricing. Now, what we learned in a lot of cases is that they got pricing over volume. And UNP, which by far struggles the most, right? UNP, Union Pacific, tells you exactly where those rail lines are going to. It's all West Coast, right? They had a really weird mix of what they reported. In that regard, you can see coal up only 5, which tells you again that Peabody is not going to have the best quarter, because I'm going to show you what CSX reported, and you can see very clearly. And when pushed, this management team said, yeah, it would have been great incrementally, given all the things happening with infrastructure strikes, et cetera, if we would have been able to ship incrementally a bit more coal, if we could have shipped incrementally a bit more fertilizer. Now, fertilizer looks down 7%, but they did say that on the call, so it's not lack of demand that's happening here. Additionally, if you look at where these rail lines run, this isn't the most important one for fertilizer that I care about. It might be because, I mean, you have a little bit of nitrogen, but it's not gonna, the line doesn't, anyways, look at a map, take a look, you'll see. They also said that they would have loved to have incrementally shipped more grain, but it didn't happen, okay? So those are all things that you should then take into consideration for some of your theses for the earnings companies that have not reported, namely Archer Daniel Midland, Consol Energy, BTU, that we've been talking about, as well as all of the energy companies that then will have to supplement this only 5% shipment in coal, which I will then show you why this matters, okay? Within automotive premium, right? That's where they get really great pricing. Just want to remind you that cars are actually shipping pretty aggressively across the states. Okay, so everyone that wants to pretend like this Tesla number was bad because of inventory going up, realize we're going into the fourth quarter, guys. There is actually this thing called seasonality in autos, and also we've had all-time record low inventories and low, we have an all-time old fleet. So get over yourselves as relates to trying to use inventory as the reason to ding Tesla. I'm just going to say it now. And then you can kind of see industrial chemicals and plastic doing a little bit better. That's despite the fact that Dow just coughed it up and told us that China is now potentially shipping out plastic again. And then metals and minerals, this also was affected negatively by the various infrastructure issues, because they definitely would have shipped more here as well. Okay, different picture slightly. If you see CSX is going to be East Coast side, and also there's a bit more impact with CSX and Norfolk Southern to my favorite coal name, which is Consol Energy, which some of the analysts are coming out and saying does not deserve its valuation of 4 or single digits anyways, enterprise value to EBITDA. Okay, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But automotive here, 31%. This is a better rail line. Everyone will tell you that that CSX is doing a better job than some of the other rails. Coal up 36%, just FYI, okay? And ag, it is contained, fertilizers is here up to, okay, it's very hard to say what will happen with the fertilizer companies. You do have some seasonality, but this is year over year. And I will say that volumes may be lower, but it doesn't mean that pricing is not going to allow them to get it through versus last year. That said, so this, I would probably hedge out a little bit. Remember that Mosaic in particular has already told you that it's happy to buy back its own stock right now, given what it's making. So I kind of keep that in mind. But just know that, for all the analysts that just want to pretend like these companies are lying when they're reporting, maybe one company can lie, but you can't lie across all the different pieces of the economy. Okay, you just can't. So this is what I'm seeing from the rails. Take it or leave it for whatever your thesis is or whatever you're seeing. But this is what they reported. This is what they showed. It is what it is. Now, last couple of things I want to just show you with Schlumberger. It was a great quarter. Okay, revenue was up 10%. EBITDA up 15%, EPS up 26%. There's nothing wrong with these numbers. They're seeing a strong mid-cycle situation where they believe there is still easily next year not a problem, because that's where production's at, especially as well with OPEC doing what it's doing, makes it very easy for people to spend on the equipment to continue to drill wells. I also want you to take a look at this. Interestingly enough, North America, 0% sequentially. People are actually going to the water. They're going international. So most of their business growth this particular quarter, and remember, this is comped against September of last year. So the US did start back up a particular way differently than overseas. But so kind of here you go. Right. And now some of this is carry forward because Europe at first had to reconfigure and rejigger what was going on, as it does have partner contract. Many of the European drilling companies do have partnerships contracts with Russia. So those all had to be unwound and machinery had to be moved, et cetera. But now it's all clear. And so you can kind of see the uptick in Europe and North Africa, that sort of thing being the biggest component. Latin America trying to make up for all of it, quite frankly. And so that is just something to note. I continue to say that the dynamics for the components of the Latin American indices, whether or not it matters to the economy, is kind of a different way of thinking about it, given the nature of the economic conditions in Latin America and the corporations themselves. But just realize that that is what's going on. This bodes really well for the oil and gas companies, not poorly. And this is just because a lot of the spend really has to be done on exploration and not necessarily pulling it out of the ground to the latter part of the year. So that's kind of where we're at, macro picture, using the companies that reported to kind of give more color to what hypotheses are out there. I'm going to stop share and take any questions that might be going on. Hey, Dave, what a crazy market, right?
Oh, no. Hey, you've been so good on Amazon. Do you have any thoughts there?
Oh my God, it's going to report next week, of course. And that's probably why you're asking. I'm afraid to be in it, because the thing is, this is not the quarter where they're supposed to make it up. He had said that even through the third quarter, like, back to school was supposed to help them a little bit. Whether it did or didn't, I'm not sure. But really it's the fourth quarter where he intended to make it all back up. And, we just heard from American Express that the consumer is still very strong. And yet, like, man, I just don't know. This one's one where I kind of want to be out, or alternatively, I want to kind of see where people like settle in as we get closer to that Thursday earnings report, and see if I can't sneak some like very cheap options and end up with legging into a strangle. Because I think it could blow out either way. I mean, this quarter is so weird. My problem with Amazon is that you really do need to see him turn the retailer around. And every single quarter, people want to give him credit on the cloud business. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
The cloud business will do fine. Yeah, I think the cloud business will do okay. And that's despite the fact that IBM, I wasn't thrilled about what they did. You know what I mean? But do I think that matters to Amazon in particular? But I need to see them turn the darn, personally, I need to see them turn the retail business around and stop being such a complete cash drain on the business. I don't know what the street needs to see at this point.
Yeah, well, the Prime Day was not good.
No, it wasn't.
They did 2 days. Okay.
Yeah, the consumer's not spending. I mean, like, we can look at the CPI and we can see very clearly what the consumer is spending on. It hasn't been spending on electronics in forever because it's a little bit worried about the economy. That's normal. And we know that from Apple as well, right?
Right.
So then it becomes like, what exactly is it? I mean, do I think groceries is going to help them out? Do I think that they charge the sellers more enough to compensate for some of it? I don't actually. I mean, I think grocery stores will probably do okay. I think Whole Foods will do okay. But overall retail, do I think it'll do okay? I don't know. I mean, Whole Foods in Fair and Square was up last quarter pretty strong, and that did help the retail composite number look a lot better than I mean, let me say it differently. Grocery was up last quarter, so it made a horrendous retail number look just terrible. It's just like that. You know what I mean? So do I think that grocery is going to be up enough to make a terrible number look all right? No, I don't. So like,
Yeah, okay. I'm looking at a place to short it, so.
yeah, maybe above 125. I don't know, but I'm so like, I feel like I'm doing that. I don't
Got it.
know.
Okay.
No, I'm
Well,
not constructive on Amazon though. You know that I've never been constructive. The other one I'm not constructive on is PayPal, because I think everyone gets so excited when there's an activist investor. Oh, there's an activist. But I keep saying it. An activist investor means someone else, not just May, thinks that that company is not doing what it needs to do to start generating growth, revenue, and shareholder value.
That's
It
exactly.
doesn't, you're right. Like, it doesn't mean that the company's doing awesome sauce and now I should buy it at these valuations. The activist probably, even if they have a full slug, has no problem with it dipping down below where they bought it at for a while. You know what I mean? I mean, look at PayPal. Elliott Management must have bought that thing at like, I mean, like, it's trading at 83. Do I think PayPal fixed itself this last quarter? Even Amazon or even American Express, which is actually a legit company with no problems, did not fix it, does not able to like, I mean, 8% bottom line growth, 24% top line growth. That's this environment right now for the credit business. So do I think somehow magically PayPal is immune to that? No, I don't.
Yeah, huge value trap. That's as is Meta.
That's a value trap. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Okay, well, have a great weekend, Ming.
Yeah, everybody stay healthy. I'm still getting over this cold, but it is finally showing some rainbow at the end of the tunnel. Bye,
Okay.
guys.